Hey guys, Jake here. Today's the day. So I finally received the Freak Athlete ABX bench. And with the new, with the old, which is my Griffin FID. Point of this video is to just give you some honest feedback as somebody that owns a garage gym. I'm not an influencer. I'm not sponsored by any companies. Just a dude that likes to work out and do stuff in his garage. So hopefully I can kind of share, is it easy to put together? Do I like it once it's put together and I've used it a little bit? Do I think it's worth the money that I paid for it? And then also in the future, I'll do some quick videos about, the attachments and stuff for it as well. So I'm doing this for you guys. Hopefully it's helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to help you guys. I know some of you are living vicariously through me and some of the other folks that bought this thing first. And I'm, happy to be a guinea pig. I really like the Griffin FID, but I think that this is going to offer me some features and things that I'll really appreciate a lot more. So thanks guys. Let me know. So pretty interesting packing job here. We got things it's packaged, but a little just tossed in there. But I'll let you guys know as I pull this apart here. I hate styrofoam. Ugh. Presumably this is one of the pads. Oh wow. So I know I'm probably getting ahead of myself with some of this stuff, but this is one of the pads that goes on the bench. And immediately this vinyl feels really nice. Nice and grippy. The pad doesn't feel super firm, but also it's not super soft either. It's nice. It feels nice. Definitely a step up from the Griffin vinyl. The Griffin vinyl is pretty good, but this feels like it's like a step up. So again, presumably another pad here. careful with cutting it. So this has to be the head, right? I guess we'll see. That's interesting. So you can actually see, was this supposed to be open? It's got like a handle situation going on here. So you can see the wood, what they used, and then how thick that padding is. This is a little odd. I feel like this should be covered, no? Well, we'll see. This has to be the main pad. If not, I don't know what it is. But I think that's a good assumption here. So this isn't like a matte. It's not a matte black powder coat. It's definitely some sort of gloss, but it's kind of got this like sparkliness to the paint. It's kind of cool. I mean, everything else I have is matte, but I'm not going to pull hairs over that. So the wheels that are on this, suppose I expected it to be a little, maybe some nice like bearing wheels. But it is what it is. See what else is in the box here. More cardboard. Oh, that's interesting. Want your ABX weight bench for free? Scan this QR code to enter our monthly giveaway where you can get a full refund on your ABX weight bench. That's nice. Scan the QR code for the assembly instructions. Very good. So again, another company that's done away with the paper instructions of the past. I don't know, I kind of like having the paper instructions, but whatever. What do we got in here? The rest of the parts. We've got a bag of flat washers and hex bolts, 12. Couple large bolts with some washers, 2 sets in here. 2 wrenches, didn't have to pay for them, although I assume it's baked into the cost of the bench. And what do you know? Yet another Allen key to join the drawer full of Allen keys. And that's it. So I'm gonna clean up a bit and then I'll restart. So some initial thoughts before I start putting this together, and maybe I'll share this as feedback to Freak Athlete. We have a knurled grip here on the front base. They had covered this in cardboard to protect the knurling in shipment, I presume. Just as a comment on the knurling, it's not snake, it's not aggressive, but it is nice. But my point is, Freak Athlete, you guys covered this to protect the knurling on there. And there are just other parts of the bench that, you know, this is going to be covered by the pad, so whatever. That's a little scuffed up already from shipment. But you have other knurled pieces here that just weren't covered by anything. And so if you wanted to protect these and make sure that these were protected in shipment, why not do the same thing that you did for the other handle, you know? And I say that because had you done that for all of your knurled pieces, this wouldn't have happened. You know, this is a knob for what will be where the attachments go in on the bench. And this is just absolutely ate up and sharp. I mean, look at that. That is just all gouged to hell. So that's just some immediate feedback. You know, you could have covered your all of your knurled stuff to make sure it wasn't damaged. Yeah, so there's that. All right, everyone. So I've got this unpacked, ready to start assembling it. As you can see, this is pretty, pre-assembled, which is pretty nice. If I'm just doing a quick comparison to the experience I had with the Griffin bench, there was a lot more that had to be put together compared to this bench. And the same could probably be said for a lot of different benches out there, especially that use this ladder system. Freak Athlete, surely they could have shipped this with the rails, not pre-installed. So that's kind of a nice feature to how it's shipped and sent out. But to their detriment, maybe they shouldn't have sent all these things kind of pre-installed out the way they did, just to help avoid potential damage to those knobs and whatnot. But I digress. So as you can see, we've got the main frame. We have the other part of the frame with the wheels. We have the 3 pads, 2 bags of nuts and bolts, for a total of 12 nuts and bolts that are going to attach the pads, the 2 wrenches, the Allen key, the instruction manual. I don't think this should be a very difficult build. Seriously, all that's happening is you're putting the pads down, you're putting the nuts and bolts through, and that's 12 total. That will attach all of that stuff, and then 2 long nuts with long bolts with washers and nuts that are going to go on the lower part of that frame. So it'll take me probably 20 minutes doing this while recording and kind of chatting with stuff. But if you guys have questions for whatever, on anything while I do this, just let me know. All right, so for the first step of putting the ABX together, we're attaching the main frame to the wheelbase, the wheel frame. Very straightforward process. There's literally 2 long bolts with 2 washers and 2 locking nuts. Then we have 2 short bolts with 2 flat washers and 2 spring washers. So yeah, with 4 things to put through here, pretty straightforward process. So we have 2 bolt holes on the top of the leg, the wheel part of the frame, which will align with the 2 bolts on top here, 2 holes on top there. Then on the front of the wheel frame, there are 2 holes that go all the way through, and you guessed it, that's where the long bolts are going to go through, and they will come through and attach there. So pretty straightforward process here. I'm literally just going to line these up. Looks good. I will make sure that I put the spring washer on first. That way it's on top of the flat washer as this is attached. Just stick that one on there. Do the same thing with the other one. And then for these long bolts, as the washer's pre-installed, I'll just take the first washer off, take the long bolt, pass it all the way through, maybe, possibly. There we go. So I just had to lift that up just slightly to get it through. I'll put the washer on, the locking nut, kind of hand tighten it on there for now. Do the same thing on the other side. And that one went right through, of course. Washer on, locking nut on. And that's that part of it. So I'll just kind of zoom in for you guys here. Show you what we're working with. So yeah. So I'll tighten those 2 down. I'll tighten those. And of course they provided some wrenches, but I'll just use a quick little socket wrench, make my life a little bit easier. And that'll be it for step 1. And if you'd like to use a socket wrench on here, a 5/8 socket will fit it just fine. And just as a quick bit of feedback, for tightening down the top bolts here with the Allen key, because of how this is pre-assembled, that could just be a little bit of an issue. So certainly if you need some grip assistance for this, tightening these down using the vertical method could be a little cumbersome. You can't quite get a full range to turn those just within that space. So just to keep that in mind. But with that said, as I'm kind of looking at this, already some of this powder coat paint that's covering the rail system is scratched or gouged in a couple places. So yeah, just some feedback for you guys as I'm going along. For part 2, we're going to be installing the 3 pads on the bench frame. Of course, ABX, Freak Athlete, have their video on how to do this. I'm just kind of going through the same motions. But I would recommend checking your bag of your parts to ensure that you have everything you need. In this case, I'm supposed to have 12 bolts and washers, and I've received 12 bolts and 11 washers. So yeah, I just need to find a washer that'll work. Kind of annoying, but I should have some extra stuff to work with here. But before I go on, I just did want to highlight some of the little bit of damages that I kind of see from shipping, maybe handling from the factory, whatever that looks like. But there's some like scuffing in the powder coat that's on here. Again, shouldn't matter because we're putting a pad on here. But if you're somebody that wants things pristine, especially when you spend a lot of money on it and it arrives like that, however you may feel about that. Something else that I'd like to point out before I continue, on the bottom of this, they have some rubber that's attached for the bottom, so it kind of maybe has a nice grip on there. But the way that Freak Athlete has this front piece of rubber attached, it's just like screwed in, but it's like lipping. So I don't know if you see what I'm doing here, but the rubber is just coming right off. So I could see if you're trying to maybe slide this around, once it's flat, you're trying to kind of get the right position. This could catch maybe on the ground, especially if you're using stall mats that have the diamond pattern, or maybe you catch the lip of a rubber mat or something like that. So just something else to just think about. But yeah, otherwise just some like random scratches and some of the powder coat that's on here. Like I mentioned previously, some kind of scratches already in the rails. Nothing that screams to me that I want to care about the stuff, other than, hey, you guys didn't, double check how many bolts and washers you send, and that other piece on here, the knob that's all chewed up, because that one's actually sharpened. That'll hurt when I go to grab it. But yeah, otherwise, kind of looking at the frame, everything else looks to be in one piece. The welds look like welds. Paint looks like paint otherwise. An initial thought though, as I'm looking at this, the adjustments for what will be this pad here, on one side it has the number cut out to tell you the degrees at which this is turned, but on the other side it doesn't. And I think from kind of using this like in the future, it would have been nice to have that cut out on both sides, just to see, hey, this is what the angle adjustment is. But first world problems here. So that's just my initial feedback. I'm going to continue. I'll put this together and we'll go from there. All right, so before I continue, I went searching in my house for the random washer that I'll need to continue. And literally I have 3 that could fit, all of which are silver. The other washers, of course, are black. And I know this is very, very, very minute of an issue, but this pisses me off. I'm gonna have 11 bolts with black washers and 1 bolt with a regular nickel washer. So yeah, Freak Athlete, send all your washers, please. Because if you're someone that's OCD, this would also piss you off, make you pull your hair out. Yeah. So yeah, I'll continue on now. Thanks. Makes sense to me, yeah? So there are 4 holes on the bottom pad there. Take one of my bolts and washers and just hand tighten, thread it through. Repeat the same while I decide where I want to put my not black washer on this nut pad situation here. We'll probably hide that one in the middle. But I will say, looking at this, the washer that I have is actually the wrong size. It's a little too big in diameter. Anyways, don't mind me complaining about something again that very minor in the grand scheme of things. I got the bench, so I'm happy about that. But on the other side, when you pay all that money, you can't send all washers? Come on now. In any case, so according to the video, it does not matter which direction, the installation video, it does not matter which direction you install the last 2 pads. I guess it doesn't looking at it. So we will press on. And there are 4 holes on this one. We'll just start here. Alright, we'll pick this as the spot to put the random silver washer. Assuming I can get the dang thing in. There we go. Come on. I guess just need some words of encouragement. Go on, get in there. There we go. Alright, and then the last pad goes on the bottom with the last 4 nuts and bolts. Again, reportedly does not matter which direction you put it on here. I feel like that looks good to me. That's 2, and 3. Yeah, that just made me think of something. You know, words of encouragement again here. And number 4. Again, okay, so maybe I'm 30 and I used to watch cartoons as a kid like a lot of us did. And I'm trying to think, saying number 3, number 4, what was that? What was that TV show? Codename Kids Next Door, there we go. That just made me think of that for whatever reason. That's how you referred to all the kids on there. All right. So all of those are in. All that's left is to tighten them down with the provided wrench or socket wrench. 5/8 still works. Oh, I suppose it doesn't work all the way. Oh, yeah. All right. Very good. Don't want to over tighten it. That way you don't just strip it out or mess with the bolt, but you can get a good feel of how tight that has to be there. There's the last four. Everything appears to be in order. Let's double check these bad boys right here. That looks good. Alright. So if I've done this correctly, the bench should be completely assembled now. Let's take a little look-see. Very good. Oh my. Okay. Interesting. So, there appears to still be a gap going on here. We'll just double check this. Perhaps I gotta retighten, loosen and retighten it. But everything else looks pretty okay to me. If anything, I feel like the pads are kind of, sorry if I'm not pointing at it here. Maybe I'm crazy, but looking at this, the pads seem like kind of off towards that direction, you know? Maybe it's just me. But in any case, I'll double check that pad real quick and then I'll get back to you guys here shortly. Alright, so I've finished putting the pads on here, and yes, it was user error installing that top pad. But as I'm looking at this, maybe I'm crazy, but this top pad just seems to fit on here like it's not lined up correctly. And you know, again, first world problem here. Maybe OCD. It's like, it's bothering me looking at it. Something about this just seems like it should be slightly over more. You know, maybe I'm crazy. Or maybe get a good look at this from both sides. And yeah, it does just seem like it's not perfectly aligned with the other pads. And unfortunately, I don't think anything could be done about that. I think that's just the way it is. Because to me, turning the pad doesn't look like that would work for me, the way that it's fitting together. In any case, hopefully not a problem you have. Again, maybe it's just me. But when you're going to put this together, make sure this thing is completely vertical, and that you aren't on any of these sawtooth angle adjustments. That way everything fits down correctly the way it's supposed to as you're putting the bolts and the washers on. For this top piece in particular, that was my problem initially, and there was still a gap here, so that's how you eliminate that gap, is by vertical installation. So yeah, so now let me just run through the bench now. Now that it's put together in all its glory. So picking it up, putting it down, not too bad. I like it. So interesting. Anyways, to adjust the top pad section itself, they've put two knurled handles on the sawtooth, and you're supposed to, I guess, pick that up, or that's how it's supposed to work, but to me, just doing that doesn't seem to do it. So, looking up from the pad, this seems to be the way to do it. These adjustment handles really, unless you're doing a combination of both, perhaps, just doesn't work that way. So that's the adjustments here. It goes all the way up to a 90-degree seating situation. So 90 degrees. And I am 5'10". Interesting. So I'm 5'10", and this is how this looks at 90 degrees. And of course, you can also, and the key feature of the ABX is the flip down headrest here. I don't know, I feel like another one of these pull out kind of spring assisted pins would have been nice here, instead of the pin that comes completely out, but that's just me. So to kind of get a look at how that looks with the shorty piece, here you go. I'm feeling a little annoyed right now because this does not seem to sit flat. You see that? I'm bothered. In any case, we've got these different adjustment heights here. for this bad boy. And I see that it's designed to go all the way through. So that's if you had your little lunch area, eat your snacks. I'm really curious. This is really interesting. So initial thoughts looking at this thing, interesting. There's some stuff that's pissing me off right now, but your results may vary. That is bothering me. And I got the stall mats. My floor in here is reasonably level, so I don't know why it's doing that. Perhaps going to need a shim to make this completely flat. But yeah, so let's see. Adjusting this with the pad on there. Be able to do some bent over kind of rows, that kind of situation. Some dumbbells with this would be kind of nice. Obviously, I'm going to have to mess with angles and everything on here until I find what works for me and what I like the best. But I am looking forward to the versatility on this thing. Just there's some little things on here that are just bothering me. Again, it's not level. How the pad looks is a little off. Again, the Michigan washer. But all in all, solid bench. It feels pretty easy to lift up and everything. I'll have the wife try it out as well. But I really am liking the width and the length of all the pads on here. You know, this is going to be good. So, all right, I'm done rambling. Sorry for taking so long to get through all that, but yeah, there's the bench.